That is 11 games in a row for the Boston Celtics. Now, I've been thinking for a long time, the Celtics are getting to that point where you think, hey, they got to win one eventually, right? And it looks like it might be that season. They have won 3 games by 50-plus points this season. Obviously, they beat the Warriors by 52 points on Sunday morning, afternoon, whatever you call it. And it was a beatdown. I mean, it was one of those games I was excited to watch because obviously Boston was on a 10-game winning streak, and the Warriors have become a lot better at this point in the season. Even with Wiggins out right now on a personal leave, since Draymond got suspended, Kuminga kind of came into his own, and Curry's Curry, and Clay has his moments here and there, but it was exciting because they were playing so much better. And I wanted to see how do they stack up against a team like the Boston Celtics, who have been nearly unbeatable as of late, especially. And that's what happened. They lost by 52 points to the Celtics. The Celtics also beat the Pacers by 51 earlier this season, and they beat the Nets by 50. They are the first team in NBA history, you heard that right, history, to win 3 games by 50-plus points in a single season. Pretty nuts, if you ask me. So, first team in history to do that, and there's been just a lot of things that are convincing about it, right? Let's look at just a few things. Of course, during that game, they had an 82-38 lead against the Warriors, which made it the largest halftime lead in franchise history. And I just want to put that in perspective for a second because we're talking about, first of all, like, what was that? Almost a 50-point lead. Was that 46? 44, sorry. I think it was 44. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this team was on pace for 164 points. And it's unbelievable when you really break it down. And when we talk about the largest halftime lead in franchise history, we're not talking about the Charlotte Hornets. We're not talking about the Sacramento Kings here. We're not talking about the Grizzlies. We're talking about the Boston Celtics, one of the teams that have been around the longest in history and one of the most accomplished franchises and one of the greatest, if not one of the top 2. It's either the Lakers or Celtics if you look at the greatest franchises in basketball, and they're pretty much tied. I think they're both tied at 17 championships right now. And the Lakers have some of them coming from Minnesota. These were all Boston. So it's probably the best franchise in the history of the NBA, and in 2024, they're beating the Warriors 82-38 at halftime, the largest lead at halftime in franchise history. And this 11-game winning streak has been wild. I mean, it's to the point where after the game, Steph Curry said it himself. He said, this has got to be the best team in the NBA about the Boston Celtics. So he felt it himself playing that game. Like, this team is probably better than most of the other teams right now, right? He even said they're hitting 10 threes in the first quarter. That's what we used to do to teams. It's kind of demoralizing. So he's bringing this up to the 2014, 15, 16 Warriors. He's looking at it saying they hit 10 threes. It's demoralizing. We lost by 52. This has got to be the best team in the NBA. So it was a bad moment. I don't know what's worse, to be honest, if it was a worse moment for the Warriors or if it was a bigger moment for the Celtics winning, because we know the Celtics are really good. We know they've been unstoppable during this win streak. But to put 52 on the Warriors, I don't know if that's more impressive by Celtics or more demoralizing and showing that the Warriors' time is done. I don't know which one is proving more, but either way, Curry felt it. After that game, you could tell he felt it. And, in general, Jaylen Brown did not like the fact that the Warriors sagged off of him. He said it was disrespectful. Draymond Green mentioned it, saying, 10 minutes before the tip-off, we said, this is the strategy. We got to go with this team right now, sag off of Jaylen Brown and see what happens. And it obviously didn't work out. He says, such is life, move on, whatever it may be. But it was a beatdown. And this is, we're talking about a team that is stacked. Now, I know that Porzingis didn't even play the other day. He got the leg contusion, or the quad contusion. But with this mix of Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Tatum, Brown, even a guy like Derek White, which I'll get into. He has some statistics that are weird about him and just in a good way. But in this 11-game winning streak, they won by 40, they won by 8, by 4, by 4, by 8, by 50, 17, 14, 18, 28, and 52. So 4 of those games, after they won by 40, the first game of the 11-game winning streak, they won by 8, 4, 4, and 8. A couple close ones. And then the back half of that winning streak has been 50, 17, 14, 18, 28, and 52. It's been pure dominance. It's been unable for anyone to stop them. And it gets us to comparing this to the last championship team for the Celtics, the 2007-2008 Celtics. The 2007-2008 Celtics through 60 games were 48-12. And this year's Celtics through 60 games is 48-12. We're talking about a team that this year there needs to be zero excuse, right? And this is coming from, if you go through my channel here, I'm a guy who just watches basketball. I don't have a specific team right now. I will tell you I'm a Seattle Supersonics fan when they come back. That is where I'm born and raised. I'm all things Seattle sports. But there's no team right now, so I just appreciate good basketball. And right now, the Celtics team is a team to watch, to appreciate good basketball. They are in my Celtics, Wolves, OKC, Nuggets, Bucks I like to watch even when they're not playing great. The Heat right now are on a good streak. I love watching good basketball, right? I'm not a big, I like watching young talent. I enjoy watching Victor Wembanyama, but when your team that's losing a lot, I just don't like watch losing basketball that much, especially when it's not my team, right? My everyday team. I'm not watching the Pistons. I'm not going to watch much Cade Cunningham. He's good. They need to get better as a team. But this is the type of basketball that's pure to watch, and the Celtics have been dominating left and right. And I'm just looking at the standings now. We're talking about a team when we talk about domination, okay? Let's look at the West first. In the West, between number 1 and number 4, you have OKC at number 1, half a game back is the Wolves. Number 3 is half a game back, Nuggets. And number 4 is 2.5 game back, Clippers. 6.5 Pelicans, 7.5 Kings, 7.5 Suns. So there are the next 6 teams are all within 7.5 games. And we can add the Mavericks. Number 8 is 8.5 games back. The difference in the East. So remember, in the West, number 1 to the number 8 seed is between 8.5 games. In the East, number 1 versus the number 2 seed is 8.5 games. The Celtics are 8.5 games above the Milwaukee Bucks, who have also won 5 straight. If the Bucks hadn't won 5 in a row, we're talking about it might be a 10-game lead. So if you're wondering, yes, they're dominating that much. They are top 3 in points per game allowed. I mean, they're number 1's Cleveland at 109.5. Number 2's Knicks at 109.7. They're at 109.9. So they're pretty much at the exact same as the number 1 team in the entire East. They're pretty much they're tied for the least points per game, and they're right there at third place also in points for. And their plus minus obviously is at 11.5. The next closest team's at 4.5. So they are absolutely dominating. It is pure domination left and right, and it's because of this stacked lineup. I mean, I'm only going to talk about the top 5 guys right now just because I'm just not going to go deep into talking about Al Horford's 20 minutes and, Peyton Pritchard's 20 minutes. Just not right now. But right now, when you look at Jason Tatum, who should probably get some more love for the MVP, even though I think it's Jokic no matter what happens at this point. Unless they win like 20 straight, we'll see. But 27 points a game, 9 rebounds, 8.4 rebounds, and 5 assists. Playing great basketball. You have Jaylen Brown at 22.5, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. You have Kristaps Porzingis at 20 points, 7 rebounds. You have Derek White, 15.5 points per game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. And then you have Drew Holiday, who is locked down defensively as well. He might not be as good as he once was, but that's a defensive player to have out there. 13 points a game, almost 5 assists, almost 6 rebounds. And you got guys that, they play their hearts out. A guy like Derek White, it sounds crazy. I mean, It doesn't even sound realistic, but 6'4" guard Derek White has 67 blocks on the season. Okay, blocks. Yes, like denied shots, blocks, 67. While somehow a guy like Giannis, a 7-footer, has 60 block shots. Derek White has more block shots this year than a guy like Giannis. And you might say, what's the point of that stat? And the point is just that this team is full of scrappy defenders, full of scrappiness in pure basketball, and it doesn't matter the size or the length or the talent. They just are finding ways to be better than other teams. It's extremely impressive. It's extremely rare to see a team this good. And if the Celtics plan to win a championship in this era, you got to start looking at this year right now. There might not be any other team that's ready to compete yet this year. If they lose again, I know Tatum and Brown have been close already. If they lose, OKC's coming. The Wolves are coming. The Nuggets are always going to be there. The Heat are going to get back to it. The Bucks are going to be fine for a couple of years. The Cavs are good. The Knicks are getting there. This seems like the most open door year we have so far. So brace yourselves and try to go get that ring this year.